Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, September 28th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect partly sunny skies with a high of 78 behind a cold front in San Antonio today. Mornings should remain chilly on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Sunday, Guardsmen headed to the Middle East got a send-off from commanders and their families. Sig Christensen was there and has this report at the link in the episode's description. Also, Henry Cisneros, former mayor and U.S. Housing Secretary, sat down with us to discuss how the pandemic has affected the faith of the American people in their government. In a separate Q&A, Graham Weston, co-founder of Rackspace Technology, told us how catching the coronavirus gave him the idea to launch his mass testing project. And now let's move on to the top stories for the day. The first event at the convention center in more than 6 months saw more cancellations because of concerns of COVID-19 than attendees. But for the many of the 1,376 people who showed up over the weekend for the Women of Joy conference, a Christian event, the trip to San Antonio was worth it. I was afraid to come traveling by plane, but felt God would protect me, said Angela Hardy, who flew in from Fairbanks, Alaska. The safety measures for attendees included face masks, social distancing, and temperature checks. The convention center is equipped with 20 thermal imaging cameras at a cost of $8,150 each, according to city officials. For more on the safety precautions and the outlook for San Antonio's convention business, read Randy Diamond's latest dispatch. Mayor Ron Nirenberg says San Antonio International Airport needs to think big and build a new terminal despite the current plunge in passenger traffic stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite recent renovations that cost more than $30 million, the terminal's passageways are about half the size of more modern terminals, and they can't be widened. There aren't enough restrooms, and seating areas near the gates aren't spacious, leading to overcrowding. San Antonio International's limited nonstop destinations, compared with other airports, have been a detriment to the business community. Randy Diamond takes a closer look at the issues and the timeline for a 20-year master plan. The stunning decision by a state agency to block relocation of the Alamo Cenotaph has put the entire $450 million makeover of the mission and battle site on hold. But advocates on both sides of that heated controversy are hoping any delay is a short one. What happens next involves 3 major issues. Scott Huddleston breaks it all down in his latest article, which you can find at the link in this episode's description. 4 recent Alamo Heights High School graduates, each just 18 years old, found themselves pitching their business proposal in July to a group of investors in the style of ABC's hit show Shark Tank. The team, consisting of Blake Burke, Brendan Herman, Lauren Martinez, and Davian Mendiola, set out to solve a problem facing, of all people, skeet shooters. Burke and Herman were enthusiastic practitioners of the sport and knew that typical bright orange clay pigeons are left in pieces on ranches and shooting ranges. Some contain petroleum-based tar and are toxic to wildlife, taking years to biodegrade. Krista Toralva has more on Leaf Eco Pigeon, a product of the Alamo Heights High School Business Incubator. About 6,300 students and staff have been infected with COVID-19 since public schools began reopening in late July, according to new state data released September 24th. Private schools are not included in the tallies. The Department of State Health Services and the Texas Education Agency plans to update the data every Wednesday by 5 p.m. Check out the link in this episode's description for all the latest numbers. To keep our readers up to date on the path of COVID-19, the Express News has built a dashboard of interactive graphics showing the spread of the virus in the San Antonio area, in Texas as a whole, and across the United States. We've also created an interactive map of San Antonio for COVID-19 testing sites that don't require a doctor's referral. You can find a link to the dashboard and the interactive map in this episode's description. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside your Express News subscription. A backlog of 2,794 coronavirus cases reported Sunday pushed the total number in Bexar County since the start of the pandemic to 57,145, according to the San Antonio Metropolitan Health District. The death toll rose to 1,130. Unlike other major Texas cities, the San Antonio Metropolitan Health District does not count or investigate COVID-19 cases in which a person without symptoms tests positive for the coronavirus in an antigen test. Mayor Ron Nirenberg wants that to change. Within a day of releasing numbers of coronavirus cases for school districts across Texas, a first since the pandemic began, the state health department pulled the data from its website after discovering some issues. The census response rate in Texas is 96.5%, about the same as the national rate. But because an undercount will have an adverse political and financial implication for the next decade, the current slow pace in Texas is worrisome to local and state leaders. Mayor Ron Nirenberg, Judge Nelson Wolff, and former Mayor Julian Castro joined local leaders Saturday for a virtual forum about encouraging residents to vote November 3rd for SA Ready to Work, an economic recovery training program. The Express News editorial board is breaking down 5 key campaign issues with a San Antonio filter. This week, they looked at Joe Biden and Donald Trump's record on healthcare. Joe Biden is calling for $2 trillion in federal spending over the next 4 years to get the United States on the path to eliminating carbon emissions by mid-century, likely requiring massive shift away from oil and other fossil fuels. We have socialized medicine in this country. We've just hidden it behind an opaque market, writes business columnist Chris Tomlinson. Those of us with employer-sponsored plans are subsidizing healthcare for the poor, elderly, and uninsured. We're only paying for it in the most inefficient way possible. In a new book, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz explained how the Supreme Court vacancy left by Justice Antonin Scalia led him to endorse Donald Trump in 2016. The university healthcare system is looking to buy 2 office buildings to keep up with its quickly expanding workforce. Officials hope to secure a $28 million deal for the buildings located on University Park, a 3.2 million square foot business park near De Zavala Road and I-10. New Texas rules allowing for family visits to nursing homes and other long-term care facilities require designated family members to test negative for the coronavirus within 14 days of the scheduled visit. For some, getting the required test for the new up-close visit with a loved one is going to cost some bucks. 5 Northeast Independent School District board members are facing challengers on the November ballot, but the Express News editorial board sees no reason for change. College football was never going to be able to offer normalcy. Not with socially distanced crowds, and not with 3 times per week testing, and certainly not in this world, writes sports columnist Mike Finger. Find out why he thinks Saturday came as close to college football normalcy as we've seen in a long time. This week in history, on October 1st, 1910, an explosion inside the Los Angeles Times building kills 21 people and injures many more. The building was completely destroyed and the company declared the building was dynamited. According to the story on the front page of the San Antonio Light, the Times appeared this morning, a 4-page edition printed at its auxiliary plant. Virgin Mary shrines don't just reflect their owner's personal style, they also serve as colorful community focal points. You probably won't find a more elaborate center of attention than the towering shrine in Frank Palacios' front yard. A few blocks shy of South Zarzamora and Nogalitos, Palacios' concrete shrine stands more than 6 feet tall with 2 colorful Virgen de Guadalupe statues inside. The original one in the center as tall as Palacios with a waist-high replica by its side. Palacios' older son gave him the shrine, which he thinks dates back to the early 1980s. Yard shrines in San Antonio likely date back to at least the early 20th century. Renee Guzman has more at the link in this episode's description. As a champion stunt and trick dog, her registered name is Flopdoodle Chloe Bean. But at home, she's just Chloe. And she does way more than just roll over. But when Christine Jones and her daughter Hannah first saw the terrier 2 years ago, there wasn't a hint of the champion she would eventually become. You can find this heartwarming story at the link in this episode's description. This week, our 52 Weeks of Pizza series reveals that Il Forno restaurant is among San Antonio's best Neapolitan pies. San Antonians will still have haunted houses, escape rooms, and ghost tours this Halloween despite the coronavirus. We have 17 places open for business at the link in this episode's description. The Paella Pan is a useful kitchen multitasker that deserves a spot on your shelf. Read Paul Stevens' tips on using a paella pan for biscuits, stir-fry, roasting chickens, and more. And that's all for today. This was your Express Briefing for Monday, September 28th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review us inside of your Apple Podcasts app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful Monday morning, everyone.